Welcome to our countdown of the top 10 deadliest natural disasters in American history. Today we'll be looking at these catastrophic events in reverse order, starting from number 10. From raging wildfires to devastating hurricanes and unstoppable tornadoes, we'll revisit these dark moments in American history. We'll delve into the events themselves, the victims, and the aftermath that forever changed the nation. But beyond the destruction, we'll also uncover stories of resilience, heroism, and the lessons learned. Lessons that continue to shape how we prepare for and respond to natural disasters today. California has always been susceptible to wildfires, but the Camp Fire of 2018 stands as a stark reminder of just how destructive they can be. It was a firestorm that seemed to erupt out of nowhere, fueled by drought conditions and driven by ferocious winds. The town of Paradise, nestled in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada, stood directly in its path. In a matter of hours, Paradise was gone, consumed by flames that moved with terrifying speed. 85 lives were lost, making it the 10th deadliest natural disaster in American history. The images of the firestorm, the charred remains of homes and businesses, and the stories of desperate escapes are forever etched in our minds. The Camp Fire became a flashpoint, igniting a debate about wildfire prevention, forest management, and the role of climate change. In the aftermath, investigators would uncover the role of faulty electrical equipment owned by PG&E, sparking outrage and leading to billions of dollars in settlements. The Camp Fire serves as a stark reminder of the devastating power of nature and the importance of preparedness in the face of increasingly unpredictable weather events. Imagine a bustling city caught completely off guard. It was May 27, 1896, when a monstrous tornado, an F4 on the Fujita scale, ripped through St. Louis, Missouri and East St. Louis, Illinois. This wasn't just a storm, it was a force of nature unlike anything these communities had ever seen. It struck during the afternoon rush hour, turning a scene of bustling activity into one of unimaginable chaos and destruction. The tornado cut a path of devastation a mile wide, leaving entire neighborhoods in ruins. Buildings crumbled, bridges twisted, and homes were reduced to rubble. The official death toll stands at 255, making it the 9th deadliest disaster in American history, but the actual number may be higher, lost to the chaos of the time. The St. Louis East St. Louis tornado was a tragedy that exposed the vulnerability of cities to the raw power of nature. In the aftermath, the nation watched in horror at the images of devastation. The storm became a catalyst for change, prompting calls for improved building codes, early warning systems, and disaster preparedness measures. The lessons learned from this tragedy would resonate for decades to come, shaping how we prepare for and respond to tornadoes. March 18, 1925, marked a day that would forever be etched in the annals of American meteorological history. On this day, a monstrous tornado, the deadliest in U.S. history, tore through 3 states, leaving a path of unimaginable destruction in its wake. The Tri-State Tornado, as it came to be known, carved a 219-mile path of devastation across Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, forever changing the landscape and the lives of those who lived in its path. This wasn't just a tornado, it was a meteorological anomaly, a force of nature so powerful that it defied comprehension. It moved with astonishing speed, clocking in at an average of 62 miles per hour, and at times it's believed to have reached speeds of up to 73 miles per hour. Towns were flattened, farms were obliterated, and schools were reduced to rubble in the blink of an eye. The official death toll stands at 695, making it the 8th deadliest disaster in American history, but the actual number may be higher, a grim testament to the storm's ferocity. The Tri-State Tornado exposed the limitations of early warning systems and the vulnerability of communities in the face of such extreme weather events. In the aftermath, there was a renewed focus on meteorological research, tornado forecasting, and public awareness campaigns. The storm served as a stark reminder of the awesome power of nature and the importance of respecting its fury. The year 1871 is often remembered for the Great Chicago Fire, but on that same fateful day, another inferno raged, one that would claim far more lives and leave a scar on the American landscape just as deep. This was the Peshtigo Fire, a firestorm of unimaginable fury that swept through the forests of Wisconsin, leaving behind a trail of ash and devastation. On the night of October 8, 1871, a cold front moved across Wisconsin, bringing with it strong winds and dry conditions. A small fire, perhaps started by a spark from a train or a carelessly discarded match, ignited the parched landscape. Fanned by the winds, the fire quickly grew into an inferno, becoming a firestorm of epic proportions. It swept through the town of Peshtigo with terrifying speed, engulfing homes, businesses, and entire families in its path. The firestorm was so intense that it generated its own weather system, creating fire tornadoes that sucked the air out of the lungs of those caught in its path. The heat was so intense that it melted glass and metal, leaving behind a scene of utter devastation. An estimated 1,200 to 2,500 people perished in the Peshtigo Fire, making it the 7th deadliest natural disaster in American history. Yet, the Peshtigo Fire, overshadowed by the Chicago Fire, remains a lesser-known tragedy. The scale of the devastation was so complete that few structures remained standing to mark the town's existence. The Peshtigo Fire serves as a chilling reminder of the destructive power of nature and the importance of respecting the forces that shape our world. In the late summer of 2005, Hurricane Katrina, a storm of unprecedented fury, slammed into the Gulf Coast of the United States, forever changing the lives of millions and exposing the vulnerabilities of our nation's infrastructure and disaster response systems. Katrina was a storm of historic proportions, a Category 5 hurricane that weakened to a Category 3 before making landfall. But the storm surge, the wall of water pushed ashore by the hurricane's winds, proved to be Katrina's deadliest weapon. In New Orleans, Louisiana, the levees, the city's only protection from the encroaching waters, failed catastrophically. The city, much of which lies below sea level, was transformed into a toxic soup of floodwaters, debris, and human misery. The images of Katrina's aftermath are seared into our collective memory: flooded streets, homes ripped from their foundations, and desperate residents seeking refuge on rooftops. The storm claimed over 1,800 lives, making it the 6th deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. But Katrina was more than just a natural disaster. It was a human tragedy compounded by government failures at all levels. The delayed response, the inadequate preparations, and the slow recovery efforts exposed systemic inequities and sparked outrage across the nation. Katrina became a turning point, forcing a national reckoning with the realities of climate change, the importance of social justice, and the need for a more resilient and equitable approach to disaster preparedness and response. In September 1928, a monstrous hurricane, later dubbed the Great Okeechobee Hurricane, roared ashore in Florida, leaving behind a trail of devastation and exposing the deep-seated inequities that plagued the Sunshine State. The storm, a Category 4 hurricane, made landfall near Palm Beach, bringing with it a storm surge of unimaginable power. The storm surge, estimated to be between 10 and 15 feet high, overwhelmed Lake Okeechobee, a shallow lake in south-central Florida. The lake's flimsy mud dike, meant to protect the surrounding communities, crumbled under the onslaught of water, unleashing a torrent of floodwaters onto the low-lying farmland and towns. The floodwaters swept away entire communities, leaving behind a landscape of utter devastation. Homes were reduced to rubble, Crops were destroyed and thousands of people were left homeless. The official death toll stands at 2,500, making it the fifth deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. But the true cost of the Great Okeechobee Hurricane was far greater than the numbers could ever convey. The storm disproportionately impacted marginalized communities, particularly Black migrant workers who were living in flimsy shacks and tents near the lake. Many of these victims were buried in mass graves, their stories lost to history. The Great Okeechobee Hurricane was a tragedy compounded by social injustice, a stark reminder of the human cost of inequality in the face of natural disasters. High in the Allegheny Mountains of Pennsylvania, a disaster was brewing, a tragedy that would expose the dangers of unchecked industrialization and the human cost of negligence. It was May 31st, 1889, when the South Fork Dam, a poorly maintained earthen dam owned by a group of wealthy industrialists, gave way after days of torrential rain. The dam's collapse unleashed a wall of water, 40 feet high and carrying millions of tons of debris, onto the unsuspecting town of Johnstown, located 14 miles downstream. The wave of destruction, traveling at speeds of up to 40 miles per hour, obliterated everything in its path. Homes, businesses, and entire neighborhoods were swept away in an instant, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable devastation. The floodwaters roared through the town, carrying with them houses, trees, and even locomotives, turning the once thriving town into a wasteland of debris. Over 2,200 people perished in the Johnstown flood, making it the fourth deadliest disaster in American history. The Johnstown flood became a symbol of the Gilded Age's excesses, highlighting the dangers of unchecked industrialization and the disregard for the safety of working-class communities. The tragedy sparked national outrage, leading to reforms in dam safety regulations and a greater awareness of the need for social responsibility in an industrializing nation. In September 2017, Hurricane Maria, a storm of monstrous power, slammed into the island of Puerto Rico, leaving behind a trail of devastation and exposing the vulnerabilities of a U.S. territory grappling with economic hardship and political neglect. Maria, a Category 5 hurricane at its peak, made landfall as a high-end Category 4 storm, packing winds of 155 miles per hour. The storm's impact was immediate and catastrophic. Maria's winds ripped apart homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure, leaving the island in ruins. The storm surge, the wall of water pushed ashore by the hurricane's winds, inundated coastal communities, causing widespread flooding. But it was the aftermath of Maria that proved to be the most devastating. The storm knocked out power to the entire island, leaving millions without electricity for months. Hospitals were overwhelmed, clean water became scarce, and communication networks were crippled. The official death toll stands at 2,975, but the true number may be much higher, a grim testament to the storm's lasting impact. Hurricane Maria exposed the fragility of Puerto Rico's infrastructure and the inadequacy of the U.S. government's response. The slow and chaotic recovery efforts, hampered by bureaucratic hurdles and a lack of urgency, sparked outrage and accusations of neglect. Maria became a symbol of the complex relationship between the United States and its territories, highlighting the need for greater investment in disaster preparedness, infrastructure improvements, and a more equitable approach to disaster response. The dawn of April 18, 1906, brought with it not the promise of a new day, but the rumble of an earthquake that would forever alter the landscape and the spirit of San Francisco. At 5:12 a.m., a massive earthquake, estimated to be a magnitude 7.9, ripped through the city, toppling buildings, cracking streets, and unleashing a firestorm that would consume much of what remained standing. The earthquake, originating along the San Andreas Fault, sent shockwaves that were felt as far away as Oregon and Nevada. But it was the firestorm that followed that proved to be the most destructive force. Gas lines ruptured, igniting fires that quickly spread through the city, fueled by the debris of collapsed buildings and hampered by a water system crippled by the quake. For 3 days and nights, the fire raged, consuming over 490 city blocks, destroying over 28,000 buildings, and leaving an estimated 225,000 to 300,000 people homeless. The official death toll stands at over 3,000, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in U.S. history. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake and fire was a defining moment for the city, a test of resilience and a testament to the human spirit. From the ashes of the disaster, a new San Francisco emerged, rebuilt with stricter building codes, a renewed focus on earthquake preparedness, and a spirit of innovation that would come to define the city's future. On September 8, 1900, a storm of unimaginable fury, a monster hurricane that would forever alter the course of American meteorological history, slammed into the unsuspecting city of Galveston, Texas. The Galveston hurricane, as it came to be known, was a storm of unprecedented magnitude, a Category 4 hurricane packing winds, estimated to be as high as 145 miles per hour. At the turn of the 20th century, Galveston was a bustling port city, a thriving center of commerce and culture, but it was also a city woefully unprepared for the fury of a major hurricane. The storm surge, the wall of water pushed ashore by the hurricane's winds, slammed into the city with terrifying force, inundating the island and transforming streets into raging rivers. Buildings were ripped from their foundations, homes were reduced to rubble, and the city's once bustling Strand district, known as the Wall Street of the South, was transformed into a wasteland of debris. The storm claimed an estimated 6,000 to 8,000 lives, making it the deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. The Galveston hurricane was a tragedy of epic proportions, a stark reminder of the destructive power of nature and the importance of preparedness. The storm's impact was felt far beyond the devastated city, prompting a national conversation about hurricane preparedness, infrastructure improvements, and the need for accurate weather forecasting. From the ruins of Galveston emerged a new era of hurricane science, engineering, and disaster response, lessons that continue to shape how we prepare for and respond to these powerful storms today. Thank you for joining us on this sobering journey through America's deadliest natural disasters. From the raging infernos of wildfires to the devastating power of hurricanes and tornadoes, we've revisited some of the darkest moments in our nation's history. But beyond the destruction, we've also witnessed the resilience of the human spirit, the courage of first responders, and the unwavering determination to rebuild and recover. These tragedies serve as stark reminders of the awesome power of nature and the importance of respecting its fury. They also underscore the critical need for preparedness, for investing in resilient infrastructure, and for heeding the warnings of scientists and experts. As we look to the future, let us honor the memories of those lost in these disasters by working together to create a safer, more resilient, and more sustainable future for all. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, preparedness can save lives.